I am Shineece Sellars. I am the director of the African American Cultural Arts and History Center. I am a real estate agent. I'm a financial advisor, and I am all about legacy and preserving and creating legacies. So at the African American Cultural Arts and History Center, what we do is we collect and preserve local African American history, and it was something that my mom had started, and it started in a way for just her learning more about the community, stories that she uncovered that she wasn't even aware of, and she's been in Alamance her whole entire life. And so she just started going out to people, talking with people, interviewing people about what life was like in Alamance County. And it's kind of just spun into something from that. And so she decided to create the African American Cultural Arts and History Center, dedicated to preserving that history. My mom passed in 2019, and I decided to continue all the work that she was already doing. I always joke by saying that if mom were here to see this space, she would say it's not big enough, because it's truly not. When we first started, the reason for us starting was because places that were around that were history collecting, museums and groups and all this other stuff, were overlooking the Black history part. We need to recognize that Black people have always been here in Alamance County, but they haven't always been displayed here. There's been select individuals that history has been displayed, and forgive me because I can't think of his name, but he's a famous carpenter, and he had done all this carpentry. He's a Black man who done all this carpentry for high-end people, politicians, and all this other stuff, and was a very skilled carpenter. Like, his history was collected because of just who he was. But then all of this other history, Caswell Holt, John Lane, Wyatt Outlaw, those individuals who were involved in politics in Alamance County, that history was it was like you had to, as an African American, be a skilled worker or something for your story to be told, instead of saying, hey, well, this African American was involved in politics and doing these things on the advocacy level. So I just find it very interesting, from then to now, how there is more people being aware and involved in Black history. I'm real big on legacy. The legacy we leave. And legacy, a lot of it is about showing others that you are here. Several times in history where the deemed superior race has destroyed history and books as a way to erase groups of people, to erase cultures. And when you erase cultures and you erase people in their history, you lose their identity, in a sense. You're not exactly sure who you are because you're trying to portray yourself as something else that you're not in the first place. I am fighting to make sure that none of this stuff gets erased. Like, it's very important for us to understand, like, we're not supposed to be the same. We're supposed to be different, and I think we should embrace those differences versus trying to conform to what society may deem as what we should be. The Power and Place Collaborative, I guess it indirectly started probably 2018, I think it was. So somehow, and Sandy, Dr. Sandy, is going to have to tell that story. He got connected to my mom, and she was collecting story. Like I said, she was going around. At the time, none of this technology that you guys have, it existed, I believe, but we wasn't using it. At the time, she was just taking her phone with her recorder and going to people's houses, having conversations. Somewhere along the line, she met Dr. Sandy Marshall, and he said, well, I think we could get some students, get some audio film going, and continue these interviews. So they worked together to do the first couple interviews. And then Danielle Lake got involved in 2019, I believe it was. From there, I actually say Danielle kind of birthed this title and idea of the Power and Place Collaborative, because before it was just, and it still is now, it's still what it is at its core, but it was just us focusing on community stories, very informal hour-long interviews. But then it went into, now we can edit these interviews down to 5 minutes. Now we can do screening events to share these interviews, and that piece wasn't happening till Professor Lake came into the picture. It is very important for us to have that intergenerational piece, so that we can share these stories with you, so they can see somebody that looks like them, that grew up in the same county that they grew up in, and and have that person where you're like, I want to be like them. That is what I hope to give to the youth that are coming up in our current school system, that they would be able to identify with somebody who grew up in the same community that they grew up in, and see where they are now, and realize that they're not a lost cause, that they're not, just somebody who just needs to float by and get some C grades, that they aspire to be something greater. That's what keeps me going.